I feel the Lord calling us to radical obedience to faith.
Yes, come on, sir.
Paul said that he said the goal of my apostleship is the obedience of faith. How many know Paul was a former Pharisee and his former ministry was the obedience to the law? And he's like, I'm gonna ditch that. And now my overarching goal as an apostle, my overarching goal is that people would be obedient to faith. What's that mean? Do what God told you to do. Are you with me? And it's so beautiful. We had Kenneth Copeland here. I don't know if you got to see him, experience him. And I was never like a part of the Word of Faith movement as such, but I listened to him all the time. He had great influence in my life in my early years. And, he taught a lot. And, when somebody is 20 and they're teaching out of the Word of God, how many know if they're teaching accurately the Word of God, it's inspiring. Like you get something from it, and a child could teach us the Word of God if it's accurate. But when someone's 86 years old and they become the wealthiest minister in America, I think, what you taught me a long time ago, now you have fruit. Now I really listen to you. If a wealthy businessman, like if Elon Musk became a radical believer and he stood up here and said, I got billions of dollars because I trusted God, we like, amazing, that's beautiful. But when God blesses someone like an Abraham or a Solomon in our day, we're like, well, I don't know what he did. Yeah, and the same people will pray for God to pay off their house. The same people will pray for God, Lord, can you please provide money for my education? And a man tells you, God told me do this, speak this, say that, I did it, and I became the wealthiest man in America who's a preacher. And we're like, well, yeah, but how did you get your money? And we let the media tell us, don't follow him because he has fruit. And then we're in this crazy quandary as believers because God says, now when you do stuff for people, do it in secret. And it's like, my wealth is public record, but my works are secret. And people are like, well, what are you spending all your money on? And Kenneth Copeland, is one of the most generous people in the world, helps millions of people, and doesn't tell anybody. People are like, well, if you really had money, you'd help the poor. And if I'm him, I'm sitting here like, I help the poor. But the Lord said, don't let the left hand know what the right hand is doing. And I actually believe the Bible, so I have to endure your criticism because I still obey him. Jesus, Matthew chapter 9, verses 28 and 29, Jesus encounters some blind guys. And he says, do you believe that I'm able to heal you? And they say, yes, Lord. And he touches their eyes and he says to them, it shall be done according to your faith. It shall be done according to your faith. Now, okay, I get this, right? Like, we don't want to say to a sick person, well, if you really had faith, you wouldn't be sick. Because we already tried that and it's not helpful, right? Well, the reason why you're in poverty is because you got no faith. And so we want to be really careful that we don't make someone's situation their fault because they don't have faith, right? And yet, over and over in the Bible, Jesus makes statements to his own team. Like 9 of them trying to cast a demon out of this kid. Jesus comes down from the mountain, looks at the kid, casts out the demons, walked away like, oh, that was easy. And they're like, whoa, we've been hours with this kid. What happened? He goes, well, if you had faith in mustard seed, you'd say to this mountain, move, and it'd be moved. And they're like, Matthew, I told you that was the problem. And he just said to his disciples, the reason you couldn't cast it out is because you didn't have enough faith. And we don't want to say that to anybody, and I totally understand, but the church is notorious for reacting to what goes wrong and building a completely different doctrine. A completely different doctrine that's completely unscriptural. So let me ask you a question. Okay, this is not about you, but it's about your neighbor. What if the primary component to our destiny isn't education, skill, experience, or capability, or even calling, but instead it's faith? What if we are spending our lives waiting for the ultimate opportunity, but God is waiting for us to believe what he's already said to us? What if your faith, here we go. What if your faith is responsible for your current reality and your daily life unfolds in the visible realm according to the invisible expectations of your own heart? Like, what if the reason why you're right here now is because of the level of your faith, whether it's good or bad? Well, I'm offended. Then you're the person I'm talking to. God has called me in this season to disrupt people. Told me, you are a disruptor of people. Told me that. We prayed for each other in Twinview, and they said, tell somebody what you feel God's telling you to do right now. And so she said, I'm a peacemaker. And I said, I'm a disruptor of people. And she said, I know. Listen, if you aren't living beyond your means, you're not living by faith. I know people are like, well, I'm doing that. You should see my credit card. No. I'm living way beyond my means, and by faith, I even got a MasterCard just so he'll pay it off. No, I'm saying that if you aren't living beyond your means, you are not living by faith, because he calls you way beyond your means. I'm not talking about getting in debt in the name of God. I'm talking about doing what can't be done. I'm talking about living beyond your capability and beyond mine.